It often starts innocently enough. A slight tickle in the throat, occasional clearing of the throat after getting up, or persistent cough after eating. It's probably just an old cold, many say, or it's just my age. But at some point, the occasional cough becomes a constant companion. The mucus in the throat becomes thicker, breathing becomes more difficult, especially in the morning. And with every coughing fit, the uncertainty grows. Many older people suffer in silence. They don't talk about it with their children, because they don't want to be a burden. They may mention it in passing to their doctor, or not at all because they think it's nothing serious. Yet the constant feeling of having something in your throat, the swallowing, coughing, or clearing your throat all the time, wears on your nerves, your strength, and your zest for life. What many people don't know is that chronic mucus in the throat is not a normal part of aging. It is a sign, a signal from the body that wants to be heard. Because mucus is not just a waste product, it is a messenger. When it builds up too much or becomes too thick, there is often more to it than just a cold or a harmless cough. In this video, we delve deeper into the topic. We share stories of people over 60 who thought they had to live with this condition and then discovered there is an alternative. We find out which daily habits, medications, or dietary mistakes can cause mucus, and we show you natural ways to bring your body back into balance without radical changes or risky medications, because you have the right to breathe freely, every day, without shame, without limitations. Stay tuned. In Chapter 3, we will introduce you to Helga, a 75-year-old woman who for months thought she simply had the cold. But the truth was quite different. Helga, 73, lives near Bremen, has never been a woman to complain about minor ailments. It's part of getting older, she often said, dismissing her daughter's questions about why she cleared her throat so often. But at a certain point, it was no longer just clearing her throat. It was a constant cough, especially in the morning. A dry, phlegmy cough enveloped her day like a heavy blanket. I wake up and it feels like a veil has formed over my lungs during the night, she described her sensation. Coughing up phlegm was tiring, exhausting, and happened every day. Her family doctor thought it was senile asthma. Another thought it was simply chronic bronchitis, normal at that age. Helga was given medication to calm her cough, sometimes an antibiotic, sometimes nothing. The cough persisted. What Helga didn't know, and what none of the doctors had told her, was that the cause of her ailment could be in her breakfast plate. One morning, after a particularly difficult night, she left her usual cheese toast untouched. I didn't feel like it, she recalled later. Instead, she had an apple and some tea. What happened? No coughing, not right away, not at breakfast, not while brushing her teeth. The morning passed quietly. I thought it was a coincidence, says Helga, but the next day she did the same experiment and again had no mucus. It was only after 3 days that she realized the cough only occurred when she ate certain foods, especially dairy products. Yogurt, cheese, creamy sauces, anything creamy and cold caused thick mucus to form. Helga started researching and discovered what many naturopaths have been saying for years. Dairy products, especially in older people with slow digestion, can stimulate mucus production. Not in everyone, but in many. This is a correlation that traditional medicine does not officially confirm, but which more and more older people are observing in themselves. What if the body had no problem with mucus, but was only defending itself from something we introduce into it every day? Helga continued to experiment. She replaced cheese with avocado. She replaced cream with plant-based milk. And lo and behold, her coughing fits became less frequent. It hasn't gone away, but it's better. And I no longer feel helpless, she says. The key thing is that she stopped simply accepting the situation, and she started listening to her body. Many older people like Helga suffer from coughs with phlegm, not because of lung disease, but because of mild, constant internal irritation. The good news is that it is often possible to influence this irritation, not with medication, but with observation, small changes, and the awareness that you are not powerless. So if you also struggle with phlegm in the morning, ask yourself, what do I eat every day without thinking about it? And what would happen if I eliminated it from my diet? Because sometimes the solution isn't found in the pharmacy, but on your breakfast plate. Many older people who suffer from chronic cough with phlegm ask themselves the same question. Why can't I get rid of the phlegm? You cough, clear your throat, drink tea, but the phlegm remains there, deep and stubborn. However, few people know that the body has a natural cleansing mechanism designed specifically for this purpose. And this mechanism often no longer works properly with age, even though in the past it was active every day without us having to do anything. We are talking about the so-called mucociliary transport, a difficult word to pronounce but a fundamental one. There are millions of tiny ciliated hairs in the trachea and bronchi. These hairs move in unison, about 1,000 times per minute. They slowly transport mucus dust, pathogens, and harmful substances from the lungs to the throat, where you unconsciously swallow them or expel them by coughing from time to time. But with age, the ciliary movement slows down, the cilia become lazy, some even die, and when these tiny workers stop, mucus accumulates. What happens? The body still tries to do its job and sends a cough as a substitute, but coughing is an emergency mechanism, not a daily tool. So if you cough continuously, even when you're not sick, it's often a sign that your cilia are overloaded or inactive. But here's the good news, it is possible to reactivate them, not like a switch, but with movement, breathing and targeted training. Because what almost no one knows is that even a walk in the fresh air, breathing consciously and deeply, gently reactivates the ciliated system. Even more effective is a technique that almost no one knows anymore, the lip break. How does it work? Breathe in through your nose, calmly and deeply, then exhale slowly through your almost closed mouth, as if you wanted to make a candle flicker instead of blowing it out. The exhaled air creates a slight pressure in the bronchi that activates the vibrating cilia and loosens mucus effortlessly. This method originally comes from respiratory therapy for lung patients, but today it is increasingly used in the elderly to promote the natural self-cleaning mechanism. And the best thing, you can use it anywhere, in bed, while walking, while waiting for the bus. Combine it with a little daily exercise, whether it's some stretching, a few flights of stairs, or a walk in the garden, and you'll start to break the vicious cycle. Less mucus, less coughing, more freedom to breathe. Because often what is missing is not a medication, but the reawakening of a natural reflex that we have taken for granted for too long. The forgotten breathing rhythm, which once worked silently in the background, can return if we allow it to. The first step, breathe consciously for 5 minutes today, with your lips slightly parted, and be amazed at what happens. Imagine you are at the doctor's office. You describe your chronic cough that keeps you awake at night, starts in the morning with phlegm, and recurs several times during the day. The doctor nods and checks your prescription. You know, he says, it could be caused by one of your medications. You frown. Excuse me. And now comes the phrase that many don't want to hear. Your cough could be a side effect. What many people don't know, the elderly are often prescribed drugs that can have a mucolytic or toxic effect, without this being clearly stated. A classic example, ACE inhibitors, drugs used for high blood pressure and heart failure. They save lives, but they have a well-known side effect that many overlook, a dry, irritating cough, which in some cases is mixed with phlegm. About 1 in 5 patients taking ACE inhibitors develop a chronic cough, without ever linking it to the drug. But that's just the beginning. Diuretic drugs can also promote excessive mucus production due to dehydration of the mucous membranes. Sounds contradictory? It is. When the mucous membranes are too dry, they react by protecting themselves and producing thick mucus that is difficult to expel. Then there are acid inhibitors, proton pump inhibitors, prescribed for heartburn or stomach ulcers. These can also cause dry cough and mucus formation, especially at night, due to changes in the gastric flora and gastric acid reflux. In short, many older people are not suffering from an illness, but from a side effect that no one talks about. But here's the solution. It's not about stopping medication, but about understanding how it works and considering alternatives. Talk to your doctor, not just about your cough, but about all the medications you are taking. Ask them to check. Is there an alternative preparation without this side effect? Can the dose be reduced slightly? Or can the effect be mitigated with accompanying measures, e.g. inhalations or respiratory therapy? Many ailments that we accept as part of aging are not. They can be avoided with information, awareness, and the courage to ask questions. So, if you've been coughing up mucus for weeks or months, with no signs of a cold or infection, don't just look for herbal teas and steam baths. Take a look in your medicine cabinet, and maybe the solution isn't another pill, but understanding the one you've been taking for a long time. When you think of coughing, you think of your lungs, maybe your throat, but have you ever thought about your gut? For many older people, it seems absurd at first. What does my gut have to do with the thick mucus in my chest? The answer, more than you think. Because the gut is not just a digestive organ, it is also a secret control center for the immune system. What's more, the gut communicates directly with the lungs. In modern research, this connection is called the gut-lung axis. It is a silent and highly sensitive network in which the microbiome, or the trillions of bacteria in the gut, plays a key role. When the microbiome is in balance, it regulates inflammation, protects the mucous membranes, including in the bronchi, and prevents the body from overreacting. But when this balance is disturbed, something disturbing happens. The lungs become more sensitive, and you cough without having a real infection. What disturbs the microbiome in older people? An unbalanced diet, too little fiber, too much sugar, antibiotics. They are used frequently, but they also destroy good intestinal bacteria, stress, lack of exercise, and certain medications. The result, the intestine forgets how to communicate properly, and the lungs suffer silently. But the good news is that you can change the situation with simple measures. Here are 3 easy steps to strengthen your gut microbiome and relieve catarrhal coughs. Eat more fermented foods. Sauerkraut, yogurt, natural, kefir, kimchi. These are all little miracles for the microbiome. They replenish the good bacteria in your body without the need for pills. Increase fiber, trackside, oatmeal, flax seeds, vegetables. Avoid sugar and artificial additives. These foods feed the bad bacteria that promote inflammation and stimulate mucus formation. Many older people who have adopted these changes report their cough has decreased, the amount of mucus has decreased, and their overall well-being has increased noticeably, because the body does not heal only from the outside, but especially from the inside. So if you've been suffering from a cough with phlegm for weeks, and neither tea, sprays nor inhalations seem to help, ask yourself, how is my gut? Because sometimes your lungs don't need new medication, but a breakfast with sauerkraut. Imagine you're sitting at the kitchen table in the morning, you cough again. Thick phlegm that won't come up, your chest feels tight and every breath is a little too shallow, too heavy. You've tried inhalaciones, you've drunk tea, maybe you've even taken medication. But what if your body is simply trying to tell you, breathe properly? Because what many people forget, especially as they get older, is the power of conscious breathing, not the shallow, automatic chest breathing that many older people do unconsciously all day long, but the deep cleansing breathing technique known in pulmonology as autogenic drainage or active exhalation, a method that has been proven to help loosen and transport bronchial mucus, and all this without medication, just with your breath. Why does it work? It's simple. Mucus is not eliminated by coughing alone. It actually needs gentle pressure from below, from the deepest parts of the lungs, to loosen and rise upward. This pressure is created by targeted breathing. Here is a simple 5-minute technique that you can do right away, every morning, preferably while still in bed. Ramort Fumane after 5 Oninbide. Sit upright, relax your shoulders and place your hands on your stomach. Close your eyes if you wish. Breathe in slowly through your nose, inhaling deeply into your stomach. Feel your abdominal wall rise. Count to 4. Hold your breath for 2 seconds. Now exhale gently through your lips, as if you were blowing through a straw. Count to 6 or longer, if you can. Important, do not push or puff, just controlled, slow exhalation. This technique creates negative pressure in the bronchi, which gently transports the mucus upwards. Repeat for 5 minutes. Take short breaks if necessary. You will feel your chest clearing. The mucus will loosen. Your cough will become more productive but lighter. Many older people report that after a few days they start to cough differently, less spasmodically, but more effectively. An extra tip, combine this breathing technique with a cup of hot water with lemon juice or thyme tea before you start. It warms up the mucous membranes and prepares everything optimally. These 5 minutes every morning can make all the difference between a day full of coughing and a day full of air, because sometimes you don't need new pills, just your breath controlled in the right way. It's nighttime again, you're in bed, you should be sleeping, but there's that tickle again, an itch at the back of your throat. Then comes the cough, dry, painful, and sometimes with mucus that won't come out. Many older people experience this very situation. Their cough gets worse at night, and while the body wants to rest, a silent battle rages in the chest. Why does this happen? The answer lies in your body rhythm, the force of gravity, and mucus production. It sounds simple, but it's crucial. Ein's gravity works against you. During the day, you are mainly standing or sitting. The mucus produced by your body can move down into your lungs or up into your throat due to movement and gravity, and you expel it by coughing without noticing. But at night, you are lying down. Your bronchial tubes can no longer transport mucus effectively. It accumulates, and this is what irritates your mucous membranes, especially in the second half of the night. 2. Your mucous membranes continue to work, even while you sleep. Many people think that the body produces fewer secretions at night. Unfortunately, this is not true. Especially with age, the airways tend to produce thick mucus, especially in dry air, due to heating, acid reflux, or undiagnosed inflammation. When you are lying down horizontally, this mucus does not drain away. It literally sticks to the airways, and your body tries to get rid of it by coughing. 3. What can you do? The good news is that you can counteract this phenomenon in a completely natural way. Here are 3 simple strategies that can help you. Change your sleeping position. Instead of lying flat, use a wedge pillow, or raise the head of your bed with 2 extra pillows. Your upper body should be slightly elevated. This allows the mucus to drain better, and reduces coughing. 3. Increase the humidity. Dry air makes mucus thicker. Hang a damp cloth over the radiator, or place a small bowl of water with a drop of thyme oil near your bed. A humidifier is even better, especially in winter. 4. Don't eat right before going to bed. A common cause of nighttime coughing is silent reflux, which is when stomach acid rises and irritates the airways. Therefore, don't eat anything for at least 2 to 3 hours before going to bed, and in the evening, avoid highly acidic foods such as tomatoes, citrus fruits, alcohol, and chocolate. An extra tip, if you feel mucus building up during the night, get up quietly, Drink a sip of warm water. Take 2 very deep breaths as described in chapter 6, and then lie down again with your upper body raised. These small changes have worked wonders for many older people. Their sleep has become more peaceful, coughing is less bothersome, and the next morning, much lighter, because good sleep is not only restful, it is the best medicine for chronic mucus. In many German kitchens, it can still be found somewhere on the back shelf. Forgotten, underrated, yet it was once a home remedy that grandmothers used daily, not only for flavoring, but as a natural medicine. Turmeric, a golden powder that can do much more than color your dishes. It can loosen phlegm, soothe inflammation, and strengthen the immune system, especially after the age of 60, when the body's self-healing abilities decline. But why turmeric? Wine. Turmeric acts where mucus forms, in the lungs, bronchi, and throat. This is where thick mucus chronically accumulates and is difficult to expel. Turmeric contains a substance called curcumin, a powerful plant antioxidant. This substance helps to soothe the mucous membranes, reduce excessive mucus formation, and loosen existing mucus so that it can be coughed up more easily. Many people report, I took medication for years, but after just 2 weeks of turmeric tea, my throat really cleared up. 2. Inflammation, the silent engine. What many people don't know, chronic cough with phlegm is often caused by undiagnosed inflammation in the bronchi, throat, or even the stomach. Reflux. These inflammations irritate the mucous membranes, and the body produces more mucus to protect itself. Curcumin is able to inhibit these silent inflammations without the use of chemicals. In countries such as India, where turmeric is used daily, chronic respiratory diseases are less common in the elderly, despite poor air quality. A coincidence? Hardly. 3. How to use turmeric correctly. Is it enough to simply sprinkle the powder on food? Not quite. Curcumin is not very soluble in water and needs a little help to be absorbed by the body. You can use this mixture, added to hot oat milk, golden milk, mixed into a salad dressing, added to hot vegetable broth, or simply mixed into yogurt or ricotta cheese. Taken in the evening, it is particularly effective against nighttime coughs with phlegm. 4. Caution with medications. If you are taking anticoagulants or have liver problems, consult your doctor before taking turmeric regularly. In small amounts as a spice, it is harmless, but as a targeted treatment, it is advisable to consult your doctor before taking turmeric regularly. After all, mucus comes from deep within. But what if I told you that not all mucus comes from the lungs? Some is formed elsewhere, in the stomach, and it rises slowly, unnoticed, night after night. Sealant, irritating, dangerous, the enigma of many elderly people. Many elderly people report, I don't have a cold or bronchitis, but I cough up mucus all the time, especially in the morning, or when I lie down. What few people know, the cause is often silent reflux, an irritation caused by stomach acid rising. But this is not the classic reflux with burning in the chest. No, this is silent, almost invisible. It doesn't burn, it irritates. Stomach acid rises, reaches the larynx, the vocal cords, sometimes even the sinuses. And what does the body do? It produces mucus, to protect itself, like a shield against acidity. And you think it's your lungs. 5 typical symptoms of silent reflux. Coughing up mucus, especially in the morning, or after lying down. Clearing your throat for no apparent reason. Hoarseness or slurred speech. Feeling of a lump in the throat. Frequent swallowing, or feeling of a globus. These symptoms are often dismissed as signs of aging, or confused with bronchitis. But if mucus-fighting medications don't work, the cause could be deeper. Why does it affect older people in particular? As we age, our bodies change, even on the inside. The sphincter muscle at the entrance to the stomach weakens. Digestion slows down. Weakens. Digestion slows down. Many older people take medications that alter gastric acid production. In addition, we tend to move less after meals. All of this promotes silent reflux, and so mucus appears to come out of nowhere. What can you do? You don't need a radical diet, just a few smart habits. Eat less and earlier in the evening. Keep your upper body slightly elevated. A wedge pillow can work wonders, or you can simply place a second pillow under your back. Eat easily digestible foods, less fried, fatty and acidic foods, more gently cooked vegetables, oats, fennel and zucchini. Chew more slowly. The better you chew, the less work your stomach has to do. Use special herbs. Chamomile, licorice, lemon balm, ginger. They calm the stomach, protect the mucous membranes, and soothe irritation. And the most important step, observe your body. When does the mucus appear? What did you eat before? How did you lie down? If you recognize a pattern, you can counteract it in a targeted manner, without medication. The mucus that has been bothering you for weeks, that wakes you up at night, that bothers you when you talk, may not be a lung problem. Rather, it may be a silent signal from your stomach. And often, all it takes is a little attention, a few small changes, and the cough subsides. There are these little rituals from the past that have been almost forgotten, but were once completely natural. Nothing complicated, no expensive products, just a kettle, a bunch of herbs, and 5 minutes of patience. For many older people, it was part of their daily routine. Today, it has almost disappeared. Herbal tea, Lieselotte, 82,
from Passau, only remembered it when she was leafing through her mother's old recipes. She had been suffering from a persistent cough with phlegm for months, especially in the morning. The doctors said it was due to her age, and that there was nothing to worry about, but Lieselotte was exhausted from the constant coughing, and the feeling of not being able to breathe properly. Ein day, she found a yellowed piece of paper in an old biscuit tin, handwritten in shaky penmanship. It read, "Morning tea for the chest. Ein teaspoon Iceland moss, ein teaspoon plantain, ein teaspoon fennel, steep for 5 minutes. Drink in the morning and evening. Do not add sugar. Stay calm." Lieselotte smiled. Stay calm, as if that were part of the medicine. She decided to give it a try. The next morning she boiled some water, poured in the dried herbs, sat down at the table, and waited in silence. No cell phone, no radio, just the scent of musk, fennel and memories. After just a few days, she felt a change. The mucus was more fluid, the cough was less acute, she had to clear her throat less often, and she could breathe more easily. What is the secret of this herbal tea? Iceland moss, a lichen that was already considered a cough remedy during the war. It forms a mucus substance that covers irritated mucous membranes, like a protective film. Plantain, the underrated medicinal herb that grows right outside your door. It has soothing, expectorant, and anti-inflammatory properties. It is a classic in herbal medicine, especially for coughs with phlegm. And fennel, mild, digestive, antispasmodic, but also expectorant thanks to its essential oils. Together, these 3 ingredients act as a trio from the natural pharmacy. Not radically, not aggressively, but with deep effectiveness, if you let them do their work. And that's exactly the point. Many older people are looking for quick fixes, but some ailments, especially coughs with phlegm, don't require aggressive medication, but rather patience and a return to old habits. Lieselotte now drinks the tea twice a day. It's become my moment of peace, she says. I cough less, but more importantly, I feel like I'm doing something for myself again. Perhaps that is the greatest treasure of these ancient recipes. Not only their effectiveness, but also the ritual, the moment of awareness, the reconnection with what once kept us healthy. If you also suffer from a cough with phlegm, give it a try. You don't need pills or a trip to the pharmacy, just a few herbs, some hot water, and the willingness to sit in silence for 5 minutes, because sometimes the answer to modern problems can be found in the quiet habits of our grandmothers. And this tea, maybe it's just what your body needs right now. Sometimes it's not the lungs that heal, but what lies beneath them.